Alright guys, Hutchcom back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. We're roughly 3 days into the off-season and now it's about the time where the big rumours start to emerge. Los Angeles Thieves apparently will be blowing it up going into next season with at least some changes on that team. And Octane kind of confirming, depending on the way you look at this comment, that he's not going to be joining OpTic or FaZe. Does that mean he's going to stay on Thieves? What other options could there be? Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Just to follow up quickly on yesterday's video, because I mentioned that I'd heard rumours about this fight that went down at the casino, and thankfully Zuma just spilled all the beans on it on basically last night on Twitch, and it's kind of funny really because Zuma made a comment to the effect of, oh, I don't know if I should really talk about this, and then proceeded to just lay out everything that happened. So I don't believe there's any video evidence of this, but Jerica, Simp's wife, gives her thoughts on the matter.
I will say this, there was a fight that broke out. I don't know if I should talk about it though, because it's not really my place though. It's not really my place, but there was a fight that broke out. Let's just put it this way. It was a fight between girls, bro. Girls were fighting. The girls were cat fighting, chat. They were going nuts. They were swinging. They were swinging. They rolled one girl off in a wheelchair. She was drunk as shit. They rolled her off in a wheelchair. And then I think it was J-Cap who stepped in the middle and broke it. I think J-Cap had to break it up. Or it happened right in the casino. It happened right in the casino. Like falling over, like grabbing onto Simp and shit. Like, she was just drunk, bro. She was just out of it. But she was getting a little too close. So, you know, Jericho was talking that shit. So Jericho started talking that shit. Then I think it was Paige, J-Cap's girl. She started talking some shit. Whatever. The drunk girl shoved somebody. The drunk girl shoved somebody. She shoved somebody, bro. She shoved him, bro. She shoved somebody. And you know, Jericho, I'm gonna beat your motherfucking ass. I'm gonna beat your ass. I mean, go ahead, Jericho, beat her ass. Yeah. Jericho's ready to scrap. Next thing you know, J-Cap, obviously, Cap, I think Cap's girl was there. I think it might have been Cap's girl who got pushed. Somebody got pushed. She was drunk. She was all over the place. Cap stepped in. He got it. Then they just wheeled the girl off in a wheelchair, and everybody was just super confused. Like, what the happened.
So let's dive into the roster stuff then. Firstly, OD, former top guy over the London Royal Ravens, has been, well, released from the organisation effectively. I feel like it's almost, if they want to help him get his next opportunity, saying he was a pivotal part to everything that London achieved in the C deal is probably actually going to reduce his stock. But yeah, wishing the best for OD, of course. Ravens have had a tough time, and we believe they are going to be moving away next season. Jacob Hale says that some of the trademarks have actually been abandoned, or one of them has been abandoned on earlier this season. So one of these trademarks is now dead, as it's called. Some of them, including the logo, remain live for now, but we believe that they might move either to Charlotte or something else is going on. And apparently there's lots of teams that might well be changing localities next season. Is that just one step towards getting rid of the importance of geolocation? That was a talking point before the World Championship, but it's still a key talking point in the background right now. We'll get into more of that in a second. Thought it was quite nice, and Bo's here backing up Hacky just to say that, look, he's next level with this COD knowledge. Somebody's got to pay for it. I know some people have said get Parasite to work with the OpTic guys and figure out what's going on over there, and that's a discussion we will have later on today with what OpTic might decide to do and what Scump's opinion on that situation is. Also, this is the updated Call of Duty all-time earnings list. Kremp, of course, having now retired, down to 3rd place all-time. aBeZy, Simp, they are number 1, but after this World Championship with a lot of money on, Huke can pristinely drop out of the top 20, replaced by CleanX and Insight. Priest goes from top 15 all the way up to 9th, and then Slasher becomes the 8th player to hit $1 million earned in prize money. So that is your top 20 as it stands. But let's talk Rostermania. Now, you've got to be aware that the pros, especially the likes of Attach, will tweet stuff like this a lot. Now, he tweeted this out, and I thought, right, you know, here we go again. It's classic Attach, just baiting around. But Ronnie from CDOSCOM did actually say on Reddit as a result of this, he was like, yeah, it actually kind of is kicking off right now. And this is about the time where we start to see some big rumours begin to emerge. Pretty much as soon as the World Championship ended, some teams, some players will have had some idea what they wanted to do. With discussions going down over the last few days, there will be some rumours emerging as to what teams are planning. Now, they might just know at this point what players they want to drop. They might not know at all what players they might want to bring in and how things are going to go. Because, look, we thought that OpTic Pred was a guarantee when it was happening in the early part of this year. But, you know, contract situations, it couldn't work out. It's more likely for players to move that are unrestricted free agents, that there's no negotiation organization, there's no buyout to be had. They can just join if they want to. You know, Hicksy kind of mutes everything here on his timeline. Maybe that means that either he just doesn't want to hear about it, or whether he thinks that his spot is safe, right? Because who knows what Toronto have said behind the scenes with Hicksy, because if there's one man that's most likely to be replaced, you'd think that Hicksy is probably that guy. I think it can still be a valuable piece. But if they want to take a step forward, there might be other options in that specific role. And just to break down the timeline here over the coming weeks. So Sunday, June 25th, in just a few days' time, that is the extension deadline. That's when they have to inform the players whether they will exercise the team options. So if there's a 1+1 deal, there are, I think, a couple of 2+1 deals now, but I'm not exactly sure what's going on with them. The idea is that 1 year is guaranteed in a 1+1. This has been the standard CDL contract. And then for the additional year, the team decides. Do they want to extend the contract for one more year? Do they want to decide not to? So most teams might well extend half of the contracts that they have options for if they want to. But if those contracts have already been extended and they're at the end of the second year, then that means, you know, you're a free agent officially. So basically they have 1 week to decide whether they're going to do that for players they have the options on. And then on Sunday, July the 3rd, right at midnight, going into that Monday, that's when the new season technically starts, and therefore all players become free agents and teams can officially sign new players. So those are the dates that you guys have got to keep your eyes on. And there's been lots of talk between Skies and Hydro and Octane and all this type of stuff, and Ghosty about playing Val and all this other stuff in the off season. So they're already getting ready to go. And before we talk about Thieves, got to mention this that came out just a couple of minutes ago actually from the rotation. As many as 5 CDL teams could be rebranding and or moving cities this offseason. So of course Miami Heretics is one. We believe that Florida is going to partner up with Heretics, Spanish organization, become the Miami Heretics, field a Spanish team that actually was rumored a while ago what they're planning to do. Those plans may have changed, but I imagine something relatively similar. London we already knew about, right? Potentially moving to Charlotte or North Carolina or somewhere like that anyway. There were rumors about Washington and Mexico City possibly. And I wondered whether that move for Ravens is going to be they move cities just to relocate there, and whether, you know, potentially the brand names start to get disassociated somewhat from the city locations. But if that doesn't happen at some point, it might not happen for next season. It might happen the season after or something. Seattle is a very interesting one. Rumors are emerging actually, I believe Ronnie talked about this as well, that Seattle might be planning to move the team to Vancouver, which would be really interesting. Maybe, yeah, unclear if that's a full rebrand. I think it'd be a very interesting thing to see actually, because Vancouver is, I've never been to Seattle or Vancouver. Both of them have, people say they're absolutely lovely. So, you know, one day, and maybe we could have an event there at some point. That'd be rather fun. But yeah, so maybe Seattle going to Vancouver possibly, and then 2 others. So one of these others, I think, has got to be Los Angeles Guerrillas, right? If you're a new ownership group coming into LA Guerrillas, like, surely you don't want to keep it in LA. Maybe you do, but there's already an LA team there in Thieves. Those are the guys that really have the support of the LA crowd if there is going to be one. We saw that at Champs last season, for example. So, and also for cost and stuff, I'd think you'd probably want to move it out of there. So that might be one of them. The other one is probably the Rokkr, if I had to guess, just because we heard rumors a little bit ago they were looking at a potential merger. But that would be, maybe that's not the case at all. It's obviously pure speculation on my part, because Minnesota have probably been, out of all the teams, the best at that local activation. So if Minnesota were to not be Minnesota anymore, I think that would be a bit of a punch in the gut for many of the fans. So I don't know, but apparently 5 of almost, pretty much half the organizations are looking to move cities here. So kind of shows the whole city-based thing doesn't really make much sense, to be honest. But that's what we understand as it stands. But this was the big rumor that Ronnie came out with last night. Intel maybe somewhat expected with them all being free agents, but his understanding is Thieves won't be running it back for those asking. So I feel like this was inevitable, right? As soon as the World Championship ended, top 8 for these guys, all free agents. I think it was very unlikely that that team of forwards stayed together. The issue is they've got some great players on Thieves, and if they're going to get poached for other top teams, if some of those Thieves guys are going to go to FaZe, to OpTic, to potentially Toronto, for example, teams like that to try and make upgrades, Thieves might be left in a really tricky spot where many of their star players are gone and they have to make a rebuild again with a new team. Now, Octane actually replies to this and says, but who's going to turn Shane back into a person now? If you guys aren't familiar with the reference here, they did a video before the World Championship where Shane, their coach, turned into one of their coaches, right? J-Cap's their head coach technically, but Shane turned into a dog, and then they had to get him back to becoming a person by winning champs or something, and unfortunately, it's not going to happen. And as Ronnie says, wait, you're not taking Shane take the dog to OpTic with you, and then he drops the Envoy picture here. So anyway, Octane's been baiting around on Twitter a lot over the past few days, and even in Twitch chats we'll see. Don't know what's going to happen to Drazah. I know there's been some talk about, you know, could OpTic Drazah be a thing? That'd be really weird as far as I'm concerned from like a branding perspective, and also I don't really know if Drazah's going to be an upgrade over Ghosty in that role. We'll discuss that more later today. This though might be the nail in the coffin in terms of the fact that this is actually happening, because CDL Pal tweets out, I honestly thought this LAT team was going to be a dynasty, which is optimistic at best anyway, but Kenny actually comes through and likes it, kind of implying that he maybe thought the same thing for a time after they've done so well, and they, you know, they're the first team ever to break the champs curse, the first ever team to win champs and then win another event on a different title, but unfortunately it fell off, and now they're going to be making changes it seems, and I think this from Kenny definitely implies that things are going to be happening here with Thieves. Now, what are they going to do? That's the big debate to me. I think, and I've thought for some time, I've thought probably from halfway through this season, before Thieves actually got good, that Envoy was going to go. I thought that he was going to get poached, and I still think that he probably will. There's other teams out there that could definitely benefit from Envoy's services, and I think there's a good chance that he goes. Octane is a big question. Now, Octane actually said this in a Twitch chat last night. Bruce's playstyle changed massively this season. He should be playing for kills, though. I'll teach him that next year, don't worry. Oh, my bad, chat. Kind of implying, oh, I'm going to OpTic, oh, I'm not type thing. And even we then get a further reply here from Octane when Crow drops a very interesting comment on Twitter, as is usually the case. And in fairness, this comment here, so, I mean, look, frankly, when Octane's saying, oh, I'm going to be joining OpTic, it probably means he's not joining OpTic. But actually, he said a similar thing during champs when the FaZe guys walked out, and he was like, oh, look at my future teammates, they're looking so good. So, you know, in a matter of a few days, Octane has said both that he's all joining FaZe and then all that he's joining OpTic. So usually what this means is that he's not joining either of those teams and he's going to stay on Thieves. And to be honest, if you're Thieves, you really need Octane to stay, because there's not many players in Octane's role that can do a better job than he can, if any at all. I mean, I think as a player right now, he might be the most complete player that he's ever been, to be honest. Okay, he might not be like a pure prime Octane that he was a few years ago, but comms and all this leadership, experience, other elements, very, very valuable player. Other teams would, I'm sure, like him, but he also said, Octane before, I'm pretty sure that he wants to be on Thieves until he retires. So I don't expect him to be leaving the franchise. And maybe they end up keeping Octane and keeping Kenny, because I know people don't rate Kenny so highly, and he did have a difficult year this year, but I still think that Kenny, when he's properly on form, when he's playing OpTic, he is one of the most impactful players in the game, and I think it would be, if Kenny doesn't, and I'm not sure Kenny's going to get stolen away, you know what I mean? Like, is Kenny going to get a big offer from another top team? I'm not so sure. So I think there might be a world in which it's Octane Kenny looking for two. Maybe Drazah goes, maybe it's just Envoy and they try and get Pred in for Envoy or something and then run it from there. I mean, I'm not sure that would work, but it would be at least interesting. I will say there has been some interesting rumours around Octane the last couple of months as to his future, just because I believe he bought a house in Virginia with his wife, I think, over the last year or so, which is obviously quite a while away from where he's based in LA, and also if he was to be based in Texas, Virginia's quite a trek. So if he is competing as a professional COD player, that doesn't necessarily add up so much. There has been some discussions that Octane's retirement is sooner rather than later, which would be a massive shock just because he's still playing at very near peak Octane levels. But I think reading between the lines of some of this stuff, I would be highly surprised if he leaves Thieves. He probably should still be there next season, but I don't expect him to be joining another franchise, given what he said before about not wanting to leave Thieves, and also given the fact that he seems to be setting up his life to prepare for his post-competing days, and I can't really imagine that he wants to go through a whole another period of roster drama with potentially joining a new team. But then again, it's going to be the same story with Thieves themselves. They're going to have to go through their own rebuild, which is what the present rumour is. And speaking of that rebuild, which players could they actually target? Because Camp still did step in, I think, for Kenny at the start of the season, did a respectable job, but it's like, if you lose Envoy, for example, where's your replacement? It's really difficult to find. You're not necessarily going to be able to get one of the players from the other top teams, theoretically. You might have to bring up another talent into the team. Capsule is one of them. I think Afro is also worthy of consideration as well. Maybe there's a relationship there with Shane. You know, they're both English, right? So maybe there's a little bit of thing going on there. And I feel like Afro did a pretty good job this season for the Minnesota Rokkr, but then they dropped him. So, you know, maybe he's an option, because I think in the right system, Afro really can be a superstar level player. But if they they were to lose a Drazah or, you know, certainly an Envoy, that is a really difficult player to replace. And I think they might have to, well, they're going to have a difficult time making that happen, let's be honest. So anyway, that's where we're going to leave it for today. Those are the current roster rumors over at the Los Angeles Thieves, but there is some more to say on OpTic Texas that we'll get into later on today. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, nearly 100k. Thanks for watching as always. Take care, and I'll see you next time.